Welcome back to Pride. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you how to bait your opponent in for a combination. So baiting your opponent in boxing and in MMA, baiting your opponent means forcing him to react a certain way. For example, if I throw a right cross and I leave it hanging out there a little bit too long, instead of snapping it right back, I'm kind of giving him the impression that he can counter me. So when I throw that right cross, he's going to try to throw a counter. So I'm baiting him in. I'm one step ahead of him. I throw that right cross. When he comes to counter, I'm ready for it, and I throw my own counter. So this drill, we're going to bait our opponent off our jab. So we're going to throw a jab, and we're going to see how he reacts. We throw a jab. A lot of times our opponent will counter off the jab. He'll try to throw his own jab. He might even step forward with his jab. So if we stay still and don't really advance forward, back, side to side, if we're just right where we're at and we're throwing the jab, he might want to initiate a little bit more action and move forward. So if we throw the jab and we notice he likes to step forward, we're going to bait him in on that next jab. So now when I throw that jab, I'm going to be ready to push back off that front foot. That way I can land a nice right cross and a left hook. So from here, we're going to jab, push back, right cross, left hook. So you always want to be balanced when you're throwing your jab. You have weight distributed. You're pushing off that back foot. Even though you're not advancing forward, you're still pushing off that back foot. You've got that back heel loaded. Back heel is lifted off the ground. You're on the ball of the foot. You throw that jab. When you throw that jab, you have a good amount of weight still on that front foot to be able to push back. So as soon as I throw that jab, if I see him parry that jab or slip that jab and he's ready to push forward, that's when I move back, okay? As soon as I move back, he's throwing that counter and moving forward, but I'm out of range. He's moving right into my right cross and my left hook. Anytime you throw an attack that is unsuccessful, you really want to store what your opponent did to prevent that attack. The way he blocked your jab, the way he slipped your jab, you really want to store that for the next time you go to throw that jab. You want to see what you can improve on and what you can land aside from that jab. If I know my opponent always slips to his left after I throw that jab, I know I can stick him with that right cross. So always studying your opponent's reactions. Anytime he reacts, you always want to study that, and that's going to create openings for you to be able to bait him in. If I throw my right cross, my opponent slips to his left, and every time I throw that cross, I know he's going to slip to his left. Now I know which way to pivot to catch him off balance, to create an angle on my opponent. So baiting in an opponent is a very advanced technique. It comes with experience, but if you already have the basics down in your shadow boxing and you're training it daily, it's never too early to add this in. Add this into your training, add this into your shadow boxing. As you feel comfortable with it, try to apply it while sparring. Especially for beginners, when first sparring, they might throw certain punches and they're not landing. They see that their opponent can avoid those shots real easy. That's when you move to plan B and start trying to bait your opponent. If you know he's going to slip that jab every time you throw it, if he slips to his right, every time you throw that jab, you're getting ready to let that right hand go to right where you know his head is going to move. If he moves the same way every time when he slips your jab, then you can bait him for that right cross. So let's talk about what makes an opponent predictable. If I throw a jab at my opponent and every time I jab him, he reacts the same exact way, that makes him very predictable, and now I can bait him in off using that jab. That's why it's important for fighters to have several different ways to deal with a certain punch. If someone throws a jab at me, I can parry the jab, I can slip and cover, I can just slip, I can push back out of range, I can parry and counter with the right cross. So by doing this, you're becoming more unpredictable. Your opponent doesn't know what to expect, and he can't think moves ahead of you. Anytime we push back, we're putting a lot of weight on our back foot when we plant right here. That's why this combination can lead very easily with that right cross because of the weight distribution. We throw the jab, we push back, we're loaded and ready to throw that right cross, and the left hook always can follow the right cross very easily. Always remember, after landing your jab, push off that front foot to move back. So you land your jab, push off that front foot, both feet move back, you're balanced, and you're ready to throw that two-punch combination. Once you feel comfortable throwing this combo, you always want to add to it because those two shots might not do it for you. They're two very powerful shots. They're definitely knockout shots. He's walking right into it, but you might need a third or a fourth. So you always want to practice adding to your combination as well. So you throw your jab, you push back, right cross, left hook. You can follow with uppercuts and keep the combination going. You can even add defense in as well, mixing it up. Thank you for watching. I'm sure this video is going to help you out. Start adding it into your training so you can learn how to bait your opponent in. Be sure to subscribe to Prime Martial Arts if you haven't already. Turn on notifications for all future videos.